Hello there. Are you a landlord, property owner, or an investor? Register for this free webinar to find out how the Party Wall Act can protect your property.
Hello and welcome to this webinar on Party Wall Act for adjoining owners. Before we get started, just a couple of quick housekeeping issues for the webinar. Please make sure your mic's turned off to avoid feedback. Also, if you can put a Y in the chat box to let me know that you can hear me, and we'll begin. The agenda for this webinar is as follows: a brief introduction to our firm, 1996 Party Wall Limited. We'll then look at the background to the Party Wall Act, the purpose behind the Act, the effects and benefits for property investors and property owners. We'll also look at some case studies. We'll go through how you can engage our services and perhaps even engage them for free. And finally, we'll go through next steps so that you can gain the most out of this webinar. A quick introduction to our firm, 1996 Party Wall Limited. We're specialist party wall surveyors. Here are our contact details, which we'll show you at the end of the webinar. Preferred method of contact is email. My name is Dil Gujral. I'm the Chief Surveyor at 1996 Party Wall Limited. I'm also the author of Your Wall or Mine, a simplified guide to the Party Wall Act. And on the launch day, it went to number 5 under business law. It's obviously fallen back since then. At the beginning of 1980s, people owning properties worked out that it was more cost effective for them to do a loft conversion or a rear extension to add extra space to their homes. With a loft conversion, you could add an extra 1 or 2 bedrooms. With rear extension, you could increase your living space, therefore create a bigger house. The building boom really took place when people realized the extra cost was lower than the value add. The issue with these type of works were because of the proximity of neighbouring houses, some of these works affected neighbours' properties. Where you have a neighbour doing works, we'll call them the building owner, and a neighbour with a property next door, we'll call them an adjoining owner. The adjoining owner is worried that the building works of the building owner is likely to affect their properties. They try to take the neighbours to court, get injunctions to stop them working. The government's answer to this potential sea of litigation was to create the Party Wall etc. Act 1996. We'll call it the Party Wall Act for short. The background to the Party Wall etc. Act 1996 is that it comes from a piece of legislation called the London Building Act 1939. In fact, the original planning legislation, Town and Planning Country Act 1947, also comes from this London Building Act 1939, and majority of the building compliance regulations came from this London Building Act 1939. The difference with the London Building Act 1939 and the Party Wall Act 1996 is that the London Building Act only applied to the 8 inner city boroughs, whereas the Party Wall Act applies to all of England and Wales. Let me reiterate this. The Party Wall Act applies to whole of England and Wales. There are no exempt towns within this. It doesn't apply to Northern Ireland, Scotland, obviously. The Party Wall etc. Act 1996 has a dual function. It's there to enable building owners to carry out building works. It's also there to protect adjoining owners' interest and property. Just a very brief run through some of the basic terminology in the Party Wall process. This can be thought of as 2 stages. Stage 1 is the notice stage. This is where the building owner, i.e. the owner wishing to do the works, sends a notice to the relevant adjoining owners. Now, there is some confusion here. We hear a lot of people referring to this as a Party Wall agreement. It's not a Party Wall agreement. It is simply a notice by the building owner to the relevant adjoining owners of their intention to carry out notifiable works. The next part of the process, stage 2 if you like, is determined by the adjoining owner's response. The adjoining owner can request the schedule of conditions be taken. Now this is almost like whereby renting a car from a car rental company, i.e. a photographic survey is done before the works begin.
Its function is to protect the building owner from false and malicious claims.
Various times we've gone into properties to do a survey, seen damage. Had we not done the survey, we would have thought this has been caused by the building works. The other options available to adjoining owners include
the drawing up of a party wall award.
This document may sometimes be referred to as the party wall agreement. This is a legal document setting out rights and responsibilities,
Each of the parties involved,
and procedures if there is damage. For relatively minor works, the adjoining owner can choose to have an agreed surveyor, or they have the right to choose their own surveyor. Here are some of the basic terms in the Party Wall Act. First of all, you have the building owner. This is the owner of the property who wishes to carry out building works, notifiable under the Party Wall Act. In all projects, there can only be one building owner. Now, the Act defines 4 types of adjoining owners, 4 categories of adjoining owners. You have the freeholders of adjoining properties. Again, there can be more than one adjoining property that's notifiable. For each adjoining property, there's one freeholder or a set of freeholders. There can also be leaseholders with leases of more than 1 year. Now, it is possible to have more than one leaseholder for a particular adjoining property. Another group of adjoining owners are those that have a right to receive profits. Under this, you have owners with a lease option. And the fourth group are those contracted to buy land. So that where an adjoining property is being sold, contracts have exchanged, the new owners become notifiable as adjoining owners. Tenants under ASTs and council tenants and mortgage companies are not notifiable owners. In England and Wales, on average, 1 in 42 properties over the course of a year will become notifiable under the Party Wall Act. Now, this is obviously higher where you've got cities, as there's more work and properties are in a closer vicinity to each other. Let's view the process from a typical adjoining owner's perspective. The building owner understands he has to do works notifiable under the Party Wall Act and arranges for notices to be sent to the adjoining owner. Let us assume the adjoining owner's property is rented. Tenants receive a letter in the post. They will pass it on to the property manager, who will look at the notice and probably just chuck it in the bin. Back to the building owner. The building owner has received no response. They do not carry out the required procedure under 10.4b. The result now turns out that there's no schedule of condition so that any damage can be proved. There's no surveyor appointed on behalf of the adjoining owner, and there's no protection under the Party Wall Act for the adjoining owner's property. There may be a number of reasons why the building owner fails to carry out the follow-through procedure under Section 10.4. It may be they do not know about it. The building owners may have been incorrectly told all that's required is for them to send a notice and then carry on works if they receive no response. The professionals involved in the project may not understand that they need to carry out a 10.4 procedure, or as sometimes happens, the notice is served by surveyors on behalf of the building owners who receive no response and need the building owner to authorise them to appoint a surveyor on behalf of the adjoining owner. The building owner refuses to authorise the appointment of an adjoining owner's surveyor, maybe because of the costs involved. Number of reasons, but the result is the same, i.e. there's no schedule of condition of the adjoining owner's property, there's no appointment of a surveyor, and there's no protection for the adjoining owner's property under the Act. So how can this process be improved? Let's take a look at an example where the building owner sends the adjoining owner's property a notice. Tenants receive this notice and pass it on to the property manager. The property manager has been briefed and knows what to do. The property owner then has the option of doing one of the following: consenting with a schedule of condition,
or appointing their own surveyor in order to draw up a party wall award in order to protect their property.
Here's a little video of someone trying to take out a chimney breast incorrectly, who failed to probably support the chimney stack, and the results a little bit eye-watering. I've seen this video a number of times, and even watching it now makes me flinch. Let's have a look at a couple of case studies. So this is an example of a backland development whereby we go down the alleyway. The photo in the middle is the alleyway leading to the site. So once you go down to the end of the site, turn around and look to the front, you'll see on the right a wooden garage belonging to the house in front. Those guys are not notifiable. To the left, you'll see a block of garages which belong to the site, which are to be demolished and rebuilt. And again, the houses are beyond the notifiable distance. This set of slides shows the back of the site. On the back is a railway embankment. And again, the old garages which will be demolished. To the right are a block of flats, number 1 being shown there. And to the left, a block of 6 flats. Both of those flats are notifiable owners. Now, here's a couple of planning drawings, and the reason I put spot the difference. This is quite an interesting lesson for developers to learn. There is actually a bigger difference than one being coloured and the other one being black and white. The clue is actually in the trial holes. So once we dug a trial hole in the garages to look at the building on the right, although this building looked like shiny new flats that had just been constructed, it was in fact an old building which had been renovated and the foundations were almost negligible. Back to the planning drawings. If you look at the bottom right hand corner of the black and white drawing, you will see that the planning asks for a ground reduction of 800 millimeters, which in effect would have undermined the foundation of the next door building and caused that block of flats to collapse. Fortunately for the owners of this site, they were able to reapply for planning in order to lift the condition of reduction in ground levels. Hence, the roof lines are very similar to the existing ones. This also meant a lower ceiling height. Unfortunately for both building owners and adjoining owners, we're not always called in at the right moment in time. So in this example, this is damage to an adjoining owner's property. On the left picture, you'll see damage to a ceiling, whereby the timber joist which connected both buildings has been yanked by builders, and unfortunately it's damaged the ceiling of the adjoining owner's building. On the right is the bathroom of the adjoining owner's building, and actually the ceiling's fallen down due to the issue of nuisance and water flying via flat roof. That actually has nothing to do with party wall matters, but it is in the same property, and it's another example of complex properties being connected, how one owner's property can be affected by another owner's property. This is Moor Park in Fulham. Just on the bottom left hand corner you'll see the edge of the hoarding, and the left hand side is where the works are taking place. On the right is the adjoining owner's property. Beautiful house. You're seeing 4 stories here. In fact this house is very big, 4 stories plus a loft conversion and a basement to go with it. It actually took me hours to do the schedule of condition here. The adjoining owners were very kind enough to consent and ask for a schedule of condition. Unfortunately, or fortunately for them, because we'd already done the schedule of condition, we were able to help with the claim for damage, which are quite substantial and still being worked out. It almost becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, whereby involvement of party wall surveyors reduces the likelihood of damage from builders. Here's an example of clause in an award that's designed to help adjoining owners. So let's look at a scenario where damage does occur, unfortunately, for both the building owner and the adjoining owner, because nobody actually wants damage to happen. However, things happen in life and damage does occur more frequently than I would like. So what happens if the damage occurs? Here we'll be looking at the tenfold process. Here's a list of the most common misconceptions about the Party Wall Act. If you're an adjoining owner and would like to engage our services, here's a link whereby you can download a letter of appointment. It's a very simple letter. All that's required is for all the adjoining owners to sign the letter of appointment to any party wall notice. A quick run through on who actually pays for adjoining owners' surveyors' fees. Now, as stated previously, there is a very big misconception that the building owner always pays the fees. This is dependent upon the nature of the project. So where we have a project that's due to dilapidation of a shared structure and there's more than one owner responsible, a classic example is a chimney stack, whereby a chimney stack is shared by 2, 3, 4 owners. It would be unfair for one person. It would be unfair for one owner to pay for the bill for maintaining that chimney stack. However, the majority of the works entail loft conversions, rear extensions, taking out of chimney breasts or basements. In all of those 4 project scenarios, the building owner is the only owner that benefits from the projects, hence all the fees for all the surveyors are payable by the building owner. So what are the next steps for people in the property industry, be they investors, portfolio managers, or asset managers looking after property for their firm? Here are our contact details. Preferred method of contact is via email.